So today we have Arman Rousta here, founder and CEO of b.labs. A lot of exciting things coming for the brand this week, the launch of Kidcoin. How you feeling today, Arman?
It's surreal, really, to be honest. We've been working on this project for such a long time, and it's gone through so many pivots, so many ups and downs, that I almost can't believe that we're finally launching our product. But we took our time. We wanted to make sure that what we put in front of parents and kids, put in front of the market, felt good to us, and it'll be a good representation of what the intention of the company is. So I'm feeling great and just laser focused and excited for the grand launch. The vision goes back. I'm 48 years old now, but back in college, going to a good school, getting a degree, coming out of school, living in the big city, living in New York, and having to pay rent and bills for the first time. That's really where Kidcoin, the vision for Kidcoin was born. It was, I have this great education and this great degree, but no one taught me the first thing about how to balance a checkbook, how to manage and pay my bills on time, how to save money properly, how to invest in markets, how to understand all of that. You could take classes here and there, but really, and obviously you watch what your parents do, you talk to your friends. So that's really where the idea was born. It was my struggle in the first few years out of college, trying to keep my own P&L, my own finances afloat personally. And I just felt that there was a gap, that if there was no solution for me, there was probably no known solution for others. And at that time, and even at this time, 20 plus years later, the same struggles and challenges exist about people falling into debt, not understanding how to manage their own bottom line. So that's where the concept and the idea came from originally, and that's what we've been working on all these years.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. I personally relate to that as well. I'm sure some people wish they had the tools as a child to, learn financial literacy, because it's an important topic these days. And on that note, a lot of people like to know, is Kidcoin considered a cryptocurrency or not?
Yeah, the name, Kidcoin obviously lends itself to crypto and blockchain. I'm personally a big supporter and believer in blockchain and crypto and this kind of financial revolution, if you will. Like any new product, any new asset class, that's going to take time. It's going to go through its own ups and downs. There's regulatory issues. So we do have designs, we do have ideas for Kidcoin to eventually become a cryptocurrency and have different blockchain, different NFT features, components. That's not the product we're launching initially. We felt that would be a little too complex to build and develop all that and support that, legally, compliance-wise. So it's a catchy name, and the name could have a lot of applications. But for our initial launch, we're calling it a virtual currency, not a cryptocurrency. But eventually, we will be going down that road.
Nice. And I can imagine that those things take time, laying the groundwork. So how long have you been working on this project in general?
As noted before, I had the idea out of college. So we're talking 25 years plus ago where the concept originally came to me. I was a young entrepreneur at that time, just coming out of my first startup. We had an exit, and then I had this idea, and I said, I'm going to do this. We called it something different at the time. The initial brand was 401 Kid. We launched a successful product for 401 Kid actually back in 2003. But it was a different product. We kind of got, I would say, I don't know if sidetracked is the word, but there's so many spokes to this problem. With 401 Kid, the vision was similar, but it kind of went down the one spoke in the wheel, which was saving and planning for education. So it became more of a savings and advisory tool for parents. It was a good tool, a good product, but I found that as we launched the product, released it, had some initial success with it, that it wasn't really resonating with me deep down for what the original vision truly was, which was to help not just the parents, but the kids. And that savings tool was helping the parents save money for the kids, but it wasn't teaching the kids the values, the financial competence and literacy that we aimed for. So we kind of put the project on ice for a number of years. And in 2017, when we came back to it, that's when the brand concept of Kidcoin was born. And we said, well, this does need to be more for the kids, not just the parents. And so Kidcoin acquired the predecessor, 401 Kid. We still have those designs to help kids plan and save with their parents for education, learn about investing and all of that. But that happens when you're a little bit older, 13, 14, 17. What do you do for the 5-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 7-year-old, like my son who's 7? That's where Kidcoin comes in. It's a baseline financial education tool. And I would even go a step further and say not just financial education, this is really like a parenting tool. It's for the parents and the kids to learn how to communicate, how to negotiate, and how to come to agreements to help the kids build good values and good habits. It's like a habit tracker. And we have features that we'll get into and talk about, but it's not just about the money, right? So if someone says, well, I don't have a lot of money, we don't make money, we're in debt, it's still a perfect tool for you and your children, to use, because it can help them and you learn how to negotiate and budget for the resources you do have, and maybe how to come up with a plan to increase your resources over time.
Nice. And on that note, what are, regarding the parent-child dynamics, what are some of the key features of the product that assist with that?
Sure. So one thing when you launch an app, one of the first questions and challenges is, are you launching a web app or are you launching an app store app, right? And there's differences, which I won't go into the whole thing there, but part of that is there's a lot of restrictions, obviously, to protect younger children from using apps where they can have, like a lot of these video games, right? Kids are playing and there's all these in-app purchases, and if a parent has their credit card in an iPad, and it's happened to me, it's happened to almost every parent I've talked to, what are all these charges that are coming if you don't lock that? So there's a lot of reasons why there's some protections, as there should be. We decided how to deal with that, since our app is really geared towards kids of all ages, starting from 4 or 5 years old, that parents should be the initial customer. So our app has different interface for parents and kids, where parents sign up and then they add their kids. And then they give their kids a passcode on their device, on the parent's device, where the kid could get their own view. Or if the child has their own device, like young kids usually don't have phones, but they have iPads, the parent can install the app on the iPad, and then the kid with their code can get in. So it's really a companion app between parent or a guardian and children, and then other family members can be invited to participate too. And on that note, some of the key features are allowance. The parents can give allowance to the children, whatever they wish, on whatever frequency they wish. Chores, where they set the chores for the children and then offer them, if they wish to, a financial incentive to fix your bed, do your homework, clean your room. And you could be very creative about that. And we have a marketplace of here are the most popular chores, and here's what other families are doing. And there's a whole community component that can help people see what the best practices are, so to speak. But parents always make the choice. They set the rules at the end. There's a goal setting component, which I think is very important. I've always been big into goal setting. It's always helped me on my journey. And most people that are successful in different walks of life talk about the importance and power of goals. We want to teach that to kids from a young age. So the kids can actually set their own goals around, say, and then bucket list, and then have their savings, like save the Kidcoin that they're earning from allowance and chore completion in their bucket list for goals, and set deadlines, and even request other family members to support them in those goals. So that's another key feature. And then the last one I'll talk about, because we have many things coming down the pipeline, but for this initial launch, we have a feature which I really haven't seen much anywhere else, called micro scholarships, and that for short is micros. So there's a micros tab in the app where sponsors or humanitarians or anybody, individual or organization, school, nonprofit, government, can offer these micro rewards for children that achieve some good achievement, whatever that may be. It could be for getting good grades in school. It could be for just showing up and attending a special camp. It could be for any kind of achievement that the sponsor deems worthy of a micro reward, which could be anywhere from $10 to $100 worth of value. And that reward could be given in cash, it could be given in Kidcoins, or it could be given in an actual physical product. So let's say if a brand that's a food company says, here's $50 dinner ticket receipt or coupon, that could be the reward. So the sponsor gets to determine the amount of the reward, how many they're willing to give, and they can be very specific about what type of child can qualify. Is it boys, girls, everybody? Is it an age group, even ethnic groups, right? So like scholarships, the sponsor could be very targeted on who they want to support and for what reason. And so that's going to be available in the Micros tab. I'm very excited about that feature.
Nice, awesome, awesome. As you mentioned before, the app does launch this week. But why in Jersey City, and more specifically, why the soccer field?
That's a great question. You know, I've always, as a younger entrepreneur, and even now, there's always this vision that you want things to go global, you want to be a national success, and you want everyone to have access to this. And of course we do. Anyone who launches a company or an application like this has a wide and broad vision. But what I've learned, and where a lot of my sensibilities have gone recently, is prove it locally. You know, if whatever it is you have, if your idea is solid and sound, it'll be fleshed out in your local community. And I think we've gotten into such kind of a global corporatist mindset with a lot of the products we use that, you know, we expect to go from one city to another and see all the same shops, all the same companies, and there's something about that has become a little less personal. Instead of, you know, what's the local business, who's the local milk brand over here, right? It's food brands, different brands. Instead of seeing the same brands nationwide, there's something that I like to support, and even our parent company, b.labs, has a vision to support and launch businesses that really support communities. And so that's why we're starting it in one particular community, and what better place than our own backyard, where we're headquartered and based, where I'm a parent in this community. I have a child that goes to public school in this community and plays in the local soccer league. So that's why we want to be outside, we want to be in front of parents, in front of kids, in the community that we belong to. And if we can prove it, that this has utility, and that parents and kids in Jersey City, and then of course neighboring cities like New York, the boroughs, find value here, then we have a great blueprint that we could expand and scale to the nation. And then when you talk about going global, you have to talk about changing the language, having multiple languages in your app. There's a lot more investment and technical complexity to going beyond one language, one country. But of course that's in our view, but I think that's, you know, maybe a year or so away.
Awesome, awesome. I love that start at home concept for sure. As far as the Golden Square brand, what does that fit in the mix, and what role does b.labs specifically play?
Sure. So the Golden Square is an idea we came up with, again, piggybacking off this local concept, this kind of community enrichment. And when people say, well, what kind of, because b.labs is the parent company for Kidcoin, and there's 8 ventures in total in b.labs, and they all share this ethos of community-driven, family values, and with the focus on children, how to help children and young people build core values that they're typically not getting. Sometimes at home, they're getting obviously some core values. At school, they're getting a lot of education, but we're looking to build these core life skills and core values. That's the ethos within most of the b.labs companies. And specifically, this Golden Square is a group of companies within b.labs, of which Kidcoin is one of them, that together are really like, I was thinking about it today, they're not just sister companies, they're like twins almost. It's like you have these triplets or quadruplets, these 4 companies that are different, that have different offerings, but they support each other. And when you take them together and you launch them in a community, as we're doing, they form this powerful group of companies that really support each other. Like Kidcoin has connections with our health food company, Blend FC, right? And there'll be these micro scholarships offered from Blend FC in Kidcoin, and vice versa. It could be one of the chores to eat healthy, or one of the goals in Kidcoin to eat healthy by possibly either enjoying our smoothies or in other smoothies, doesn't necessarily matter, but We wanted to make these offerings, and most of these companies are launching at about the same time, within at least the same year, so that we can have the power of this kind of connected group of companies, not just individual companies in a different silo all in one financial portfolio, but these companies can actually make each other better as they succeed and as you gain customers from one, and those are parents and kids that you can now cross-promote and introduce your other brand. And that's the network effect that we're looking for with Golden Square.
Nice, nice. And I'm sure you're super busy with Kidcoin and the other brands, but I'm sure you're still looking in the future and still planning ahead. So on that note, in terms of next steps and features and partnerships, do you have anything in the pipeline right now?
We absolutely do. It's taken this long, to get to this point. And as I said before, it's almost like I have to pinch myself, and I don't believe it till it actually happens, which is happening in 2 days. So it's always a battle as an entrepreneur, at least my experience as an entrepreneur, between the vision of all these things you want to do and the things that need to get done right now for what you have in front of you. And as I've talked to our developers and designers and other entrepreneurs, it's like we keep having this wrestling match between, if we can just add these more features, because we have so many features that I would say this app we're launching is going to be a very quality product, and yet it's only, I'd say, 5 to 10% of what we have in our minds. But that other 90% is probably going to cost us several more $1 million and take another year or two to put into play. So the answer is absolutely yes. We have some very exciting things. I won't talk about all of what they are, but I would just give some hints that deeper integrations and APIs with other already known popular apps and products, as well as some of the new products we have, like within Golden Square. The cryptocurrency direction that we talked about is certainly in the very near pipeline, as well as I would just say NFTs are coming up very soon within our immediate future. And with all of that, I envision some major partnerships with other big brands, sponsors, like the micro scholarships, and other features as well. So a lot of exciting things to come. We wanted to get this launch done in 2022, so we have at least a whole quarter to introduce the product to the market. And 2023 should have a whole series of new announcements and backlog features that we introduce each quarter, if not each month.
Awesome. Excited for you and the brand, for sure. So last question for you, some parting words. Do you have any advice for upcoming entrepreneurs and startups in the game right now?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, I love working with entrepreneurs, with startups. As you may know, we have an agency that's 2 decades old that I've been part of. Very fortunate to be a founder of Blue Liner Marketing, which is more than just marketing. It's really Blue Liner because we have the technical, the design, and the communications capabilities. And we were one of the early agencies in New York City as a digitally focused agency. So proud to still be largely affiliated with Blue Liner and have really Blue Liner's skill team having been the core team to develop this app and the marketing plan for Kidcoin. But I bring all that up to say, in Blue Liner, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's not my product. So I've sat across the table as the consultant, as the agency and advisor, and I love it. I love sitting with entrepreneurs, talking to them, helping them really flesh out their vision. My advice would be for aspiring entrepreneurs to spend a lot of time on brainstorming and vision. Try your best not to get too fixed too soon, because as I talked about here in this conversation, there's a lot of pivots you have to make. I mean, look at this long road we've been on for 20 plus years. A lot of people might have given up by now. And I've heard it a lot of times. Oh, you ran out of capital. This didn't work out. Oh, you're going to pack it in now? What are you going to do next? And at least, I'm not saying there's not a time to quit. Sometimes there is a time to say we gave it our best. Maybe we should move on, try something else, come back to this later. And even for 401 Kid, we put that on the shelf for quite some time. But I always knew that I felt in my heart we're going to come back to it at some point. So I would just say it's a long road. If you're really committed, if it's something you really have the vision for, stick with it, talk to other people, take in feedback, but ultimately you have to make the call. Everyone might tell you they don't like your idea, and that doesn't mean you stop. You know, you have to really, at the end of the day, find your own grounding and voice for what's going to guide you in that process, because there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be failures. There's going to be financial challenges. I would say is the number one thing that puts entrepreneurs out of the game and puts potential entrepreneurs, keeps them out of the game. It's some of the conversations that I've had with yourself and others, like, how do you even get this thing started? Am I cut out to do this? And I would say some people are more cut out for it because you have to have a tolerance for risk. You have to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable and not knowing. Like, let's say, you know, if you might talk about what's the script for this kind of conversation. All right, here's some guiding questions, and then let's just talk about it and flush it out. So I think as an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur, you have to work on just being fluid in your life, in the way you think, in the way you feel. So it's a bit of a spiritual practice. I mean, for me it is. And it's learning how to be flexible and continuing to be positive, continuing to take notes and learn. And whatever plan you had is going to change. You have to keep rolling with the updated plan. Don't let what's happening run you. You have to keep revising, I'd say at least twice a year, if not quarterly. Come back to whatever your business plan is, whether it's in a PowerPoint slide or a Word doc, or, you know, hopefully it's not just in your head, but it's good if you're that confident. But you have to put it on paper because you're going to have to share it with other people that you're going to hire to work for you, or that you're trying to raise money from, or just even your customers need to know what is your product, what's coming up. So you got to put things on paper, and then you have to keep reviewing that. And the last thing I'll say, advice, the number one common issue and problem I find with most entrepreneurs is that and this is, I have to be careful with my words here, you need to be optimistic all the time, but sometimes over-optimism to the point of it's not even optimism, it's unrealistic expectations. A lot of people might have saved, let's say, $10,000, and they come to like our agency and say, well, build me an app. Okay, so this is your budget. Okay, with $10,000, we could build one feature maybe. You might have 10 features. So and that's what I try to help people do on that level. And of course, I try to look in my own mirror and reflect it to myself to say, how do we stay positive but be realistic with what the milestones are? What does success mean? How long is it going to take? So most entrepreneurs, when they start, they're very unrealistic about how long it's going to take to get their initial product to market, get it good enough, and how much money they're going to need to invest and spend. And then therefore they get discouraged very quickly with the initial failures, so to speak. And that can just take you out. So I try to coach them or give feedback. And this is something I got to tell myself all the time too, how to have a measured approach, how to keep balanced and grounded through the process. Because there's going to be wins and losses, like a football season, like any kind of sports team. But you got to trust your preparation and continue your preparation for like what we're going through, the big day to come, the big launch. And we don't know what's going to happen. You might get good feedback, you might get bad feedback, but something's going to happen. You know, the curtains are going to come up and the show's going to begin with the bright lights. And it takes a long time to get to that point to be ready for the bright lights. So got to give yourself enough time, enough preparation, and just be ready for the long haul. Like I told Jason Stile, one of my business partners who was an aspiring entrepreneur, 14 years ago, when he came to me with a great idea, and I looked him in the eye and I said, this is a very good idea, if not a great idea. But that's not what matters the most. Are you ready to spend the next 10 years of your life doing nothing but this as the top priority? And you have to look that entrepreneur in the eye, and he did look me in the eye and say, I'm ready, let's do this. And only then I said, okay, we'll help you, and then we'll partner with you and help you do this. But that's a tough question, and 10 years is a long time, and it doesn't have to be 10 years exactly, but it's going to be most likely longer than you think in part of your mind. So that's a long-winded answer, but that's, kind of my speech and my advice to current entrepreneurs that are in the journey, whatever phase you're in, and aspiring entrepreneurs as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Arman, and congrats again on the launch.
Cool, man. Thanks, bro.